I've got all of our bolts installed on our pump housing, but before I tighten them down, I want to zoom in here and show you a little more detail. The way this pump housing is designed, the shaft is actually offset in this pump housing. It sets off to one side. So the rubber blades of the impeller tend to push the housing in this direction. So when you put your bolts in, if you just tighten it down, you'll notice that you have absolutely no clearance between the shaft and the pump housing. That's actually going to rub there, and it can cut a gouge in your pump shaft and damage the housing. So what you're going to want to do is, you can see that pump housing will move over just a little bit. You want to kind of move that over until you kind of hold it in one spot and get an equal gap all the way around the housing and the shaft. And then go ahead and tighten down your cap screws for the pump housing. Yep, we got a nice equal gap all the way around there. So we're ready to reinstall it. Alright, well, we're ready to reinstall our lower unit. Now, just before I put this in there, what I've done is I put a little bit of grease on the splines on the input shaft where it plugs into the power head. I also put a little bit of grease around the water pump outlet too, to help facilitate getting it up in that little rubber grommet a little bit easier. So just get you a couple of bolts handy. Let's ease it up in there. You just want to line up your drive shaft. Just ease up in there with it. Be sure to line up the water pump outlet. Just keep wiggling it around in here a little bit. There she goes, she'll line right up. Take one of your bolts, get it started to kind of hold it in place. All right, now we'll go ahead and replace all of our attaching hardware to the lower unit and snug it all down. Now, another thing I like to do when I'm attaching this lower unit is I kind of like to go around my hardware a little bit at a time and kind of take my time about tightening it down. Just snug them up a little bit at a time, work your way around. That way, if you don't put your lower unit in a bind with this lower part of this casting here and possibly damage it. Next to go back on is going to be our trim tab and our little water intake grate. Now, just before you snug that up, you want to be sure and line up your marks that you made earlier so that you have your trim tab adjusted properly. Then pull it on up snug. There we go. Our last thing to reconnect is going to be the shift linkage. So I'm going to zoom in here and show you a little more detail on that. Now, you want to make sure that you got your shifter in neutral and the shift rod is in the neutral detent. Now, what you want to do here is we're going to run this threaded rod down a little at a time until it just about contacts the shift rod right there, just like that. Now we're going to go ahead and start that down onto that shift rod. That way we know that our shifter and our shift rod on the lower unit are both oriented to the neutral detent. Now, once we tighten this up, we'll shift it through the gears a few times to make sure that neutral is aligned with both the shifter and the lower unit. Now we're going to change the lower unit oil. And what we've got here is you got your drain screw here and your vent plug here. So let's take both of those out and let all the oil run out of it. Now, when we get ready to refill this lower unit, what we're going to do is we're going to attach a pump to this drain plug, and we're actually going to pump the lower unit from the bottom up until the oil comes out of the vent hole. That way we know we've got this unit completely full of oil. Once we do that, then we'll cap off the vent, then we'll remove our hose from our pump. That way we won't lose any of our oil out of the lower unit. Then we'll cap off the lower plug hole. Now, what I use for my pump, this little pump setup here, I got it at my local Walmart. It comes with a little filler hose with a little attachment that threads right into that lower unit. And this pump will pretty much fit about any quart bottle of lower gear case lubricant that you're going to use. It works real good. So we'll just attach this into that plug hole, just like that, and we'll attach the other end to our pump. And we're going to continue pumping lower unit oil into this thing until we start seeing oil coming out of this vent. There we go. Now we're starting to get some oil coming out of there. I'm going to continue to pump it a few more times. You can see a little air burping out of there with that oil. I'm going to continue to pump it until we get pretty much a solid stream of oil. There we go. It's looking a lot better. All right. We're going to cap that off right there. All right. Now we'll take this hose loose on this bottom end. Now we'll put the drain screw back in. All right, that's all there is to it. Alrighty guys, that's going to wrap up this edition of D-Ray Shop. Hope you found the information was useful, and if so, drop me a couple comments down in the comment section below. This wasn't too hard of a job to do. You know, heck, an old redneck like me can do it. I guarantee you can do it too. Alrighty, well, appreciate y'all watching. Y'all have a good one. Catch y'all next time around.